is wrong. Okay, what is right and what is wrong? For example, is that is it right to beat a woman in public? Is it right to shout to your parents? So such type of things, such type of questions is being answered by ethics. Okay, I hope you understand. Now, scope of ethics, that is, which all things ethics deals with. Ethics primarily deals with the human actions. Okay, human actions. So, what do you mean by human actions? These actions are voluntary and taken out of consciousness. Okay, that is, for example, is that if I am yelling at my parents, it is voluntary and I am doing it out of consciousness because I am grown up, matured man. Okay, if I am doing it, it will be voluntary and mature. And ethics doesn't care about actions of human. So actions of human and human actions are entirely different in this scenario because actions of human are involuntary and non-conscious in nature, involuntary and non-conscious in nature. Okay, involuntary and non-conscious. Sorry for the ineligible scribbling, but I hope that you understood the topic. Okay, no, action of human, as I suggest that it is involuntary and taken out of unconsciousness. For example, is that if a baby, what happens is that spill water over another woman, it is not considered to be right or wrong because what happens is that that baby is doing not out of consciousness. That baby didn't develop that kind of maturity to handle that situation. Okay, now if a person randomly what happened is randomly vomits in a class, we can't say it is right or wrong. It is wrong. Why? Because it is involuntary, because vomiting etc, it is involuntary in nature. So actions of human does not come under the radar of ethics. Only human action is being considered, which is voluntary and conscious. Okay, now, let us try to understand difference between these terms: ethics, morality, values, attitude. Now, ethics. What do you mean by ethics? Ethics are the right and wrong decided by the society. Society decides what is right and wrong, and out of these norms are created. So, ethics create norms. Okay. Now, when it comes to morality, it is being created by an individual. That is what is right and what is wrong for an individual. And from this, his or her character is being built. Okay. Now, the difference between ethics and morality, main difference is that ethics are created by society, what is right and what is wrong. Moralities are created by individual, according to him or her, what is right or what is wrong. Okay. Now, values means what? Values means what we give importance is called what? Values. Okay, what we give importance is called values. Now, if society gives importance to something and out of this right or wrong is being formed, it is called ethics. Now, if an individual has some sort of values and out of it right or wrong is being formed, it is called morals. So, values means what? That is something which we give importance. For example, is that I give importance what to honesty. Okay, so out of it, what happens is that if person is not honest in a society, he is considered to be wrong in that society. Now, if an individual also consider it as a kind of a value, he will say that it is wrong within himself. Okay. Now, out of these values, attitude is formed. Okay. What do you mean attitude? Attitude is way of thinking towards something. That is your like or dislike towards something. In the first example, I said that attitude means what? Importance. So I give preference or importance to honesty. So out of it, what happens is that I like honest people. So when I see honest people, my way of thinking towards them will be what? A kind of positive. That is, I like honest people. So this is how ethics, morality, values, attitudes are related. Okay. Now we can delve deep into the differences between ethics and morals. So I said that ethics are values which are decided by the society that help to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. Whereas morals, what happens is that it is based on individual level. Now, in terms of social sources, ethics are external, that is, society is imposing values on us, whereas morals are internal within us. Why do we follow ethics? Because society thinks it is right to do, right thing to do. Why do we follow morals? Because we think that we have a conviction that something is being right or something is being wrong. Okay. What if we don't follow or deviate from it? In case of ethics, we will face social ostracization, that is the social stigmatization. So society will not care about us. Whereas, what if we break our morals? For example, is that we know that what as polyamory or involving in an extramarital relation is not good according to an individual. So after doing it, what happens is that he will feel guilt or remorse. Okay. Now, in terms of flexibility, what happens is that ethics are collective in nature. So, it is generally objective, it is clearly defined. Whereas morals are highly subjective. Subjective means it can vary according to person to person. Okay, I hope that you understand ethics and morals. Simply means ethics means what? Ethics are decided by society, what is right and what is wrong. Morals are decided by individuals, what is right and what is wrong. Okay. Now, next is ethics and human interface. So, in this ethics and human interfaces, we will look how human decisions are being influenced by ethics. How human decisions are being influenced by ethics. So, in this, we are going to study three facets of ethics, that is, essence, determinants, and consequences of ethics. Second is dimensions of ethics. Third is ethics in private and public relationships. So, let's delve into these. Now, first is essence of ethics. Essence of ethics means it's a true nature of ethics. True nature of ethics. Okay, true nature of ethics. So, first nature is it teaches us what is good and or bad. Okay, as I told you earlier. Now, second is ethics cannot be shaped and sustained in isolation. That is, it is does not created in isolation. It is being created by the society. So, society, what happens is that create ethics. Okay. Third nature is what happens is that humans are not only shaped by ethics but also shape ethics. That is, uh, we are not being subjected to ethics. We also create ethics. That is some sort of grateful minds like Raja Rama Rai. He is very instrumental in creating a notion against Sati, where widows are being thrown into the funeral pyres of her husbands. Okay, then fourth, ethics is contextual. That is, doesn't have a universal ethics. It changes according to context. It is not uh, same everywhere. For example, is that in some conservative societies, homosexualities will not be accepted, but in some sort of liberal society, it will be accepted or tolerated. Okay, then ethics is prescriptive as well as descriptive in nature. Okay, descriptive in nature. So, what do you mean by descriptive? That is, in descriptive ethics, we just describe that it says what is ethics or what is right and what is wrong in a society. What is right and what is wrong in a society. What is right and what is wrong in a society. It doesn't judge us how to be right or how to be wrong. Okay, it doesn't advises us. Whereas in prescriptive ethics, it prescribes us what we need to do in order to be right. Okay. For example, is that if you go to doctor, what happens is that he studies your health condition, then prescribes what you need to do. So that is called prescriptive and descriptive. I hope you understood the topic. Next is it scrutinizes voluntary human actions. I have told earlier that ethics is bothered about only human action, that is voluntary and conscious action in nature. Okay, so these are the features of essence of ethics. Now let's move to determinants of ethics, that is factors influencing ethics. First is religion. So religion also shapes us what is right and what is wrong. For example, is that in some religions alcohol consumption is prohibited, that is Islam. And in some religion, what happens is that alcohol consumption is permitted but to a moderate level. So regions also will influence our ethical values. Okay. Now, law also influence ethics. That is in the Article 17. Article 17 says it bans untouchability. Bans untouchability. Untouchability is a situations where the members of SC/ST community or lower communities is being discriminated. Is being discriminated uh, from availing basic services. So it is being what abolished. And by this law, what happens is that the government try to say that what happens is that it is not right to follow untouchability. Now, what is the difference between law and ethics? Ethics has a legal backing, whereas law has a legal backing. Law has a legal backing, whereas ethics doesn't have a legal backing. If we violate ethics, we will face what social stigmatization. Whereas if we violate the law, we will face punishment. So this is the difference between law and ethics, because law has a legal backing, but ethics doesn't have a legal backing. It has only a societal backing. Okay, next is society. Now, some society, what happens is that are progressive in nature. So out of that progressiveness, what happens is that they would tolerate homosexuality, but whereas there are conservative society, they would not tolerate homosexuality. They would consider it as a taboo. Okay, individual, as I have said that some sort of individual, some great individuals also shapes ethics. For example is that Buddha has said that follow median path attain salvation, and he also stood against the caste system also. Okay, now in order to he also said that don't be a blind follower. He said that whatever I am said, uh, it must be judged based on rationality. So great minds also create some sort of ethics. Okay, Gandhi. In case of Gandhi, what happens is that he preached the lessons of non-violence. So individuals also creates ethics, knowledge. For example, is that if I'm a smoker, if I may have a knowledge that smoking has this negative effect, it causes cancer, etc. It can also shape what is right and what is wrong. Next is time. So over the time, the notion of ethics changed. That is what is right and what is wrong. For example, is that during the time of Aristotle, okay, he justified slavery, institution of slavery, because he said that people become slave because they lack reason. But in this modern context, what happens is that slavery is not being allowed. It is considered to be an exploitation. So these are the determinants of ethics. Now, after this, we are going to dimensions of ethics. It is different dimensions of ethics. Mainly, there are four dimensions: meta ethics, prescriptive ethics, descriptive ethics, applied ethics. Now, meta ethics means what do you mean by ethics? What do you mean by ethics? On what ground we can say that a thing is right or wrong? It is called meta ethics. It shapes the foundation of the subject, meta ethics. Next thing is prescriptive ethics or normative ethics. That is, in order to be right, what you need to be, what you need to do. It is being said by prescriptive ethics. In order to be right, what you ought to do or what you need to do. Now, based on this, we have three branches, that is deontological ethics, teleological ethics, and virtue ethics. Now, deontological ethics means that thing can be right if he followed rules, rules or procedures strictly. That is called deontological ethics. For example, is that traffic rules, a person will do right things, will be doing right things in terms of traffic rules if he follows rules and regulation, if he follows speed limit, he only puts the signal when it is green, etc. So if he follows traffic rules, what happens is that he is right in terms of traffic rules. So this is being said that deontological ethics, if a person follows rules and regulation, he is right. Now, in teleological ethics, rules are not being considered. Instead, ends or its consequences are being considered. For example, is that in terms of traffic rules, we have seen that many ambulances are being going over speed to save millions of lives, isn't it? They are actually breaking the rules. Why they are doing? In order to meet an end or consequence, that is to save life. So to judge an action whether to be right, it need to be done according to the consequence or ends, not by the rules. It is being dealt in the teleological ethics. Okay. Next is the virtue ethics. Now, in terms of virtue ethics, what happens is that an action is not being considered to decide what is right or what is wrong. Instead, character of person is considered. If a good character, a wise person, okay, virtuous person, a virtuous person does something, it is considered to be good because he is virtuous in nature. He's a good person. If that person does something, it is wrong. So, uh, ethics, according to virtue ethics, is being considered not based on action but based on the character. So, these are the three sub branches of prescriptive ethics. Now, we are moving to descriptive ethics. So descriptive ethics means what? It says what is the ethical practices or what is the ethical criteria being followed by different societies. It's also comparative ethics because it compares this ethics. It's not prescriptive in nature because it doesn't prescribe what you need to do in order to be right. Okay. Last thing is applied ethics. So in applied ethics, what happens is that ethics is being applied to various fields like bioethics in biosciences, cyber ethics in cyber domains, environment ethics in environmental issues, international ethics in international relations and issues, etc. So I hope that you have been thorough with the different dimensions of ethics. That is meta ethics. That is what you mean by ethics. Then prescriptive ethics or normative ethics. That is what or typical ethics. What you need in order to be right or wrong. Descriptive ethics. That is what is the ethical practices followed by different communities and comparing it. Then applied ethics. Applying these things in various domains. Okay. Now moving to the last facet, that is ethics in public and private life. Now in public life what happens is that many things are formal in nature. Okay, everything is formal in nature. Whereas private life therefore that kind of formality is not there. Okay, it is casual in nature. Okay, casual. Okay, so in public life, what happens is formal, whereas private life it is casual. So let's delve deep into the difference between this. In private life, the relations are based on emotions, whereas public life relations are based on give and take. For example, in private life, there should be what? There will be a love between husband and wife, okay, or in many friends among friends. So it is based on emotions, whereas in public life it is a give and take or based on rules. For example, is that if an employer is working for a company, he will get salary. That's why he is working for the company, not based on some sort of emotion towards uh, that organization. No one will work for zero salaries, etc. He need to be rewarded. So this is how things works in private and public life. Now, in case of tolerance for deviation, that is, if he does something against the norms, what happens is that in private life, the tolerance is very high. That is, if your father says something and if you didn't obey it, he may, what happens is that up to some extent he may scold you, but he may not kick you out of the home. Whereas in public life, for example, uh, in your company, if you doesn't do your jobs on time, you will be fired. So tolerance towards your deviant behavior is high in private life. If you does something against the will, you will be tolerated in your home or in your private life, but not in public life. Okay. Now, in terms of regulation, in public life there is low or nil regulation, whereas in public life there is high regulation. Now, in terms of temporal nature, that is in terms of time period nature, the commitments in private life is permanent in nature. That is commitment to family, partner, etc. Okay, it is permanent, more or less permanent in nature. But whereas in case of public life, that is in our public life, that is in our working life, or in case of politician, it is temporary in nature. For example, is that in working life, what happens is that there is 9 to 5. So after that, what happens is that we go to home. Then we want to work for the same organization many years. We can leave the organization if we get somewhere else. But when it comes to private life, such thing, the notion of divorce is there in case of couples, but we will not divorce similar to what happens is that resigning from other countries, from various companies. We will stick to the relationship, to our partner, to our sons, daughters, or to our parents, because it's relatively permanent, because we are have commitment, and such commitment, such degree of commitments are not being seen in the public life. Okay, now codified rules. Codified rules, what happens is that in private life there is no codified rules. In public life there is, yes. Professionalism, whether professionalism required in private life, no. In private life, yes. Now these are some of the values we needed in private life. That is love and care. We need to be loving and care. Confidentiality, that is whatever secrecies is there within our family, it must be kept, okay, within our friends. Truthfulness, we need to be truthful. Okay, responsible, we need to be responsible. A mother need to be responsible, a father need to be responsible. What happens is daughters or sons need to be responsible to take care of their senior parents. Okay, perseverance means that the dedication. Okay, dedication means dedication which is permanent in nature. This is called perseverance. Okay, so these are the qualities which are being needed in private life. In public life, what happens is that openness. Okay, we need to be open about our duty. Then honesty and integrity. Okay, integrity means that consistency in holding values. That is, if you are honest, okay, we need to be honest throughout our public life. Rule of law, that is, everyone is above law. No one can decide according to their own whimsical will. Then equality and uniformity. Everyone will be equal, and there would be a uniform procedure in the organization. Then accountability. Accountability means that we are answerable. Okay, we are answerable and responsible for what we are doing in public life. Okay, so these are the facets or ethics needed in private life and public life. So lastly, we have dealt with all the facets of human interface and ethics, that is essence, determinants and consequence of ethics, dimensions of ethics, ethics in private and public relations. So I hope that you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you and have a nice day ahead.